Hey everyone, it's Jolly Man, and welcome back to another video game review. This time we're going to be reviewing the adventure series from Capcom, the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy. So, for a little bit of history, the original Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney was released on the Game Boy Advance in 2001, and then in 2002 the second game was released, and I believe that was also on the Game Boy Advance, although I could be mistaken. And then in 2005, the third game was released on the DS, and they ported the first two games to the DS. And then from there on out, the main bulk of the series was on the DS and the 3DS. My first exposure to the series was Dual Destinies in 2013 on the 3DS. And this trilogy is just the first three games, and I was curious about how they would make the transition from a dual screen DS experience to a home console experience, and I'm happy to say that they made the transition quite well. This new trilogy even got an updated UI to help with the transition. So, with that little bit out of the way, I guess I should get into what this game actually is. So, you play as Phoenix Wright, a defensive attorney, and this game is really split up into two different sections. The first section is a point-and-click adventure section where you interrogate witnesses and you search the crime scene to find clues and anything that you can use to help your client. And then the second half is more or less a courtroom simulator. It's the best way I can describe it. And you basically listen to witnesses and you pick apart their testimonies to try and find contradictions by using logic and the evidence to try and get your client to be found not guilty. In terms of the cases themselves, I will say that they do show their age a little bit, seeing as this was written in the early 2000s. But that being said, they still hold up really well, and that's thanks to some fantastic writing that balances between being really funny and being very serious at the same time. And it also has some very memorable characters that you'll easily fall in love with. And I will also say that for this new trilogy, they updated the artwork, and while I don't think it looks bad, it doesn't look great. And I kind of wish they gave you the option to switch between the new art style and the old pixel art style. And another thing that I do want to talk about with this trilogy is that it's just the games. They don't add anything extra to the series, like any concept art or anything like that. So for returning players, it would be like something nice to have to your collection, but there's nothing really for you to go back to. But if you are a new player and you want to experience this series, then this is a fantastic place to start. I think the last thing I want to touch on is the three games themselves. So I've actually never played these games. It was the first time for me experiencing them. And the first game is probably the worst of the bunch, but that's not to say it's bad. It's just the other two games added a lot more to the formula, and the first one's just a bit straightforward, but it's pretty solid in its own right. The second game I think is my favorite, and like it just added some new characters that were charming, and it added the psychic lock boxes, and that was just a fun twist to the gameplay. And you could also present character profiles along with evidence, and it really just made you think about the cases more and more. Unfortunately, I did not get to finish the third game. I've already put this review off enough, but I will say that the third game was going in a direction that I was liking, so maybe my opinion will change on which one's my favorite if I finish the games, but that's unfortunately where this review has to stand. And with that being said, I'll get into my final thoughts. The Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy is great. It's a collection of three games that still hold up fairly well to this day, and they include fantastic writing and some memorable characters. And while the art style itself could be better, and there's really not a lot of options for returning players, it is a great place to start for people wanting to get into the series. I will also say that since this is only $30 and each game is about 20 hours, so it's 60 hours total, it's a great value. And I will say that it is different from what you probably usually play, but I would say give it a shot because it is a fantastic change up and a great change of pace for you if you are looking for something like that. So, with all that being said, that is going to be it for this review. So, if you liked what you've seen, you can go ahead and like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel for more game reviews. I gotta make up a new ending and all that good gaming stuff. And thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.